Video games are quite spectacular. Many do not realize just how much time, effort, money, and resources go into crafting these interactive experiences. Many also do not realize just how many factors account towards a game's success. Unlike what some may believe, having the best, most high-detailed, realistic graphics does not necessarily make the game good on its own. There are many more important parts to a video game that affect its quality and success. One of these factors is music. Ever since the late 70s, music has been a part of games, but over the last 40 years, they have evolved and changed significantly. What started as simply another piece of the gaming pie has grown to become more influential and more impactful than any other element of games today. Now, when you hear of video game music, your first thought is most likely the theme from Super Mario Bros. The simplistic, electronic, annoyingly catchy tune that you will never truly escape from. And while it is significant, which we will get to later, it horribly misrepresents video game music today and from the 21st century. For instance, this classical piece playing right now is not from the classical era, but from Super Mario Galaxy, a game released all the way back in 2007 for the Wii. And this jazz piece is from Ubisoft's virtual rendition of Uno from 2016. Slightly different to the old Mario tune, isn't it? This documentary is split into 4 acts. In the first act, it is going to showcase the development of music in video games through time, starting from the mid-1970s all the way to the beginning of the 21st century. Act 2 is going to look into a design technique emerging in the late 90s that used music as a way to instill emotions and manipulate the player as they experienced the game. The third act is going to dive into rhythm games, a whole genre of gaming that is entirely focused on the music. And Act 4 is going to present the ways video game music is perceived as an art form of its own. Overall, this documentary will display the way music was used to create brand new experiences and improve old ones. Welcome to the evolution of music in video games. Our journey starts in the mid-1970s, where home consoles were not a concept and the place to play your favourite games was the local arcade. Back then, there was no standard way to make sound, and many arcade engineers were literally told to poke at the chips and adjust their frequency until they made some sort of noise. In a 2001 interview, Alan Alcorn, the creator of Pong, said that, "I poked around the sync generator to find an appropriate frequency and tone, so those sounds were done in half a day. They were the sounds already in the machine." In the late 70s, a new chip designed to make simple sounds at a low cost was introduced. The PSG, meaning Programmable Sound Generator, allowed for a single audio pitch to be played. One popular example was the SN67477, which was used in Space Invaders. As it could only produce one single noise at a time, analog sounds from the board were still used. At the start of the 80s, PSG is improved to have 3 distinct channels, allowing 3 different sounds to be played simultaneously from each of the 3 tracks. A popular example of one is the AY38910, which was used in Frogger. As you can see, this allowed for more complex music to be played. With these new chips, home consoles began to grow in popularity, and companies like Atari wanted popular arcade games on their system. The consoles themselves also had a PSG, but this is where a problem occurred. Each arcade machine had a different PSG chip inside of them, which was fine when only the Pong machine needed to play Pong, but when it came to home consoles, getting one PSG to perform like multiple others was not an easy task. On top of that, many arcade games still used the board to create sounds, which home consoles could not do. In essence, there was a big incompatibility issue. So how did they overcome this? Well, with compromises.
Of course, it'll probably never come to this. After all, who could take the pressure? Could you?
Each home console variant of an arcade game had to be recreated specifically for that system, which led to multiple different versions of the same game depending on the platform you played it on, and these versions varied quite vastly. For example, here is the original arcade version of Donkey Kong. And here is Donkey Kong again, but on the Atari 2600. As you can see, not only did the graphical fidelity worsen, but so did the sound. The background music is gone, and there are essentially only 4 sounds across the whole game: running, jumping, victory, and game over. Now, here is the version of Donkey Kong on the ZX Spectrum. Here, the theme music is back, albeit compressed and off-key, but now the game is completely silent, except for when Jumpman jumps. Finally, here is Donkey Kong on the Intellivision. This is similar to the Atari 2600 version, but arguably with even worse audio. This is perhaps one of the first showcases of how music plays a factor into the experience of a game. Just by seeing the different versions, you can tell that the arcade version would be the one you would enjoy the most, and you'd be able to walk away after playing it without your ears bleeding. The better sound in the arcade version makes the overall experience much more pleasant. Obviously, other factors also add to that, such as the graphics, but I imagine you'd say the best home console port out of the one shown was either the one with the closest resemblance to the original sound, or the ZX Spectrum, which was virtually silent. You wouldn't pick the Atari 2600 or the Intellivision, less because of the graphics, and more because you wouldn't be able to bear the sound of them for more than a minute. Perhaps it is then of no surprise that due to the poor quality of these home console ports, that the entire market crashed in 1983. Home video game revenues dropped from $3.2 billion in 1983 to only $100 million in 1985, an almost 97% drop.
Incredible liquidation sale from Urban General. We're clearing our inventory of 500,000 video games, giving you incredible savings.
The Western games industry was dying, and would likely have abruptly ended if not for one small little company that decided to launch its game console at the same time: Nintendo.